Hey friends, it's your girl Amanda here, and welcome to the Buzzed Artist, a place where you can let loose, unlock your creativity, and just have fun painting with acrylics on canvas. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to create this awesome, beautiful sunset scape. So I'm going to show you guys how to blend all this together, make grass, make a tree, and make a swing, as well as adding in some tiny little fireflies. So get your brushes, get some water, get some towels, and get an apron, and join me. So I have a slight confession to make. So I was actually in the middle of filming this exact painting when all of a sudden my camera went kaput and all of that video footage just disappeared into the nether regions of the internet, or I don't know where it went. So I'm just going to show you guys the steps that I did to get to where I am. I didn't get too far, so I just started with a blue and then went into a red. So I'm going to show you guys how to make that blue. I'll go back and forth and go over the steps. So don't be alarmed when you start to see color there already. I was in the middle of doing another video. Things got poopy, and then now I'm back and remaking this video. So I'm doing that because I love you guys. So here we go. Here are the brushes you're going to be using. You're going to be using a wide brush. Basically, you're just going to want a brush that can give you a lot of coverage. So this is the brush that I will be using. And I have a medium-sized brush. This one is slightly thinner than a typical medium brush, but it's got a square or a very like a rectangle tip, and it's got a stiff edge to it, which is really great if you are looking to make trees, which we are going to be doing. And then last but not least, I'll be using a small brush just like this. I do like how it's rigid and it's got an angled point to it. So I am a huge fan of this brush for tinier, more in control painting strokes. Okay, so now that we have that, we also are going to, I'm going to show you guys what paints you're going to need as well. So you're going to need, so again, forgive me for the splatter. I was in the middle of the painting. So we're going to be using a primary blue. Then we're going to be using a yellow color. Yeah, you can't really see that. The exposure is a little too much. That's okay. We're going to be using a primary red, and then we're going to be using a lot of black. So basically, you're not going to be using a lot of these other colors. You're going to be using a lot of black, though, so keep that in mind. Okay? So let's get started. So we're going to use your big brush, dip it in your paint water. So you want to get it nice and wet. Brushes love water because it helps coat the bristles and helps the acrylic to cling on. So what we're going to do is very simply, we're going to start, as you can see, we're going to start doing the sky. We're going to start doing the blue of the sky, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brush, I'm going to grab some blue, and I'm just going to go to the center here and just evenly coat my brush. That's the whole thing about applying paint. You want an even coating on your brush. That's kind of how I like to do it. So I got my brush, it's nicely coated, and I'm just going to head to the top over here and pretty much just go over what I already did, but I'm just going to go back and forth holding my brush like a pencil. Okay, so I'm holding my brush like a pencil, and I'm just going to use the broad side of the brush, this being the broad side, onto the canvas, going back and forth. Okay, I'm going to dip a little bit more into the paint, so into the water, so that I can hold the colors a little better. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply this paint. And so the canvas that I have is roughly about 11 by 14 inches, and it comes pre-gessoed. So for those of you that don't really know what gesso is just it's primarily a binding agent. It's a white paint that's just a lot thinner than a typical white acrylic paint, and it contains binders in it that will help to bind your acrylic when you paint onto the surface that you're painting on. So in this case, the canvas itself has been gessoed so that when I apply my acrylic later, the acrylic doesn't absorb into the canvas, so I don't lose that color. Okay, so that's really what a gessoed canvas is. And typically, if unless you're looking for raw canvas without any application to it, if you go to Michael's or if you go online to Amazon, primarily the canvases you will buy there more likely than not are pre-gessoed, so you don't really have to worry about that. Now, you'll see that I'm also painting the sides of my canvas, so don't forget to do that as well. This is great because you don't have to frame it, you don't have to do anything special. It looks like the painting was already made and then kind of stretched over a wooden board, so it's a nice little illusion piece. See, art is all about illusion. It's really just, it's about, you know, getting the most out of your least amount of stress. Applying that lovely blue color. Okay. I'm still recording? Oh, thank goodness. All right. If you guys only knew the amount of turmoil it takes to film long stretches of video, it's redonk. Okay. So, next what we're going to do, as you can tell, is we're going to start to make the red, which then will get blended up into the blue to make some really cool purple shade. So the way we're going to do that is, once again, we're going to take our big brush and we're going to dip it in our paint water, get it nice and clean. Okay? So once it's nice and clean, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my red, okay, and I'm just going to dip that into my palette. Okay, so I'm going to coat my brush nicely. And for some reason the exposure is off a little bit, so I'm just going to fix that. Much better. Okay, so once I got my brush nicely coated, I'm going to come to this area of the canvas and just fill in with my red. Okay, so I'm just going back and forth, holding my brush the same exact way like I was holding it last time. Okay, like a pencil. And I'm just going to go back and forth, back and forth. Now, here's where the blending gets really cool. Now, when everybody, especially new artists, want to blend, they're always afraid to cross over into the next color. You'll always see that one color is you know, you got your blue and you got your red, and they don't mix. And that's not what blending is. Blending is going into the next color and repeating that over and over again. So I'm taking my red and I'm going to go up into my blue. Okay, so I'm just breaking the bounds. I'm going to add a bit more paint to this so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go up. You guys see that? I'm breaking into the boundary. I'm going over the border. I am going into my blue. Okay, and you can start to see that purple showing. Okay, now I'm going to add a bit more blue to bring the blue down a little bit, but that's pretty much the premise of blending, right? So I'm going to add in some blue because I want to have nice wet paint to do this. You know, not when my video starts to poop the bed and I can't do anything about it. But I'm just going to take both my colors and go up and down. Okay, I'm blending and breaking the boundaries. See how it doesn't really look like it's two separate colors anymore. Now it looks like it's two colors that kind of, you don't really know where one starts and the other one begins, which is really, really cool. All right. So that's the premise. That's the premise of blending. You always want paint to be wet, and you always want to cross the border. Cross that border. Okay? And I'm just going to go ahead and add a bit more red because why not? Turn that over and that down. Put that down here. And again, I'm just going to go to the sides, make sure I got that covered. Okay, we're still on, thank goodness. Now I'm like paranoid. Okay, so what we're gonna do next is we're going to add in yellow. That's going to be our final color. I'm going on the faster side because when the paint is wet, that's when you're going to get the best results, okay? So it's always good to work a little quickly on this. So I'm going to grab some yellow with my big brush, okay? I cleaned it up, I rinsed it off, and just got a bit of yellow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start like right around here. And I'm just going to, same strokes, same stroke we started with, I'm just going to go back and forth, broadside of the brush down on my canvas. And remember what we said about blending? So you're going to apply your color and you're going to break the border, go across into the next color. Do not be afraid, do not be timid. You own this, okay? This is your color, you tell it where to go, okay? It doesn't tell you, you tell it, okay? So I'm telling it to go up and down. So I'm just taking my yellow and crossing into my red and then bringing it back down again. My yellow going up and back into my red. Now you're going to see a really cool effect. You're going to see like this really awesome prism that just started, okay? It kind of just starts to meld into one another, and that's the beauty of blending. I mean, it is pretty simple once you kind of get the basics down, and you can pretty much start to use this in any other application of of painting. Really, painting is, when it comes to blending, it's just wet paint and crossing the border over and over and over again. So it's not like a one and done deal where I lay one layer down and I do another layer down and that's it. I keep going back and forth with color. So if I applied my yellow and I blended into my red, and now my red's not quite where I want it to be, I go back in and add that red and I blend it back into that layer with the yellow, and that creates this really cool balance until you're satisfied with that balance. So that's really what blending is all about. I mean, to put it very simply, I know it may sound a little too simple, but that's the thing with art. Art is not as hard as we all make it out to be. Really, it's just going with the flow and figuring out what works, what doesn't, and going by intuition. And that's a big test. That's hard. But it's something that you can get better at. It's a muscle that you need to work on and strengthen. You're not going to get it the first time, maybe not the second time, but the more you paint, the better that intuition will start to feel for you. Okay? And again, don't forget to do the sides of your canvas. So now we got this really, really cool fluorescent sky, and this is a great backdrop for the next step, which will be to make our the start of our grassy hill. So what we're going to do is we're going to rinse this brush, okay? One more time, we're going to use them. And this brush has seen better days. I just noticed it's got like crap all over it, and that's fine. So it will be nice and clean, and I'm just going to take black now, okay? I'm going to make sure it's evenly coated. We're going to be working with black from here on out, actually, so you're done with all the other colors. See? I told you you don't need that much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the white portion that's still white on my canvas, and doesn't really matter your technique, but I'm holding it the same way we've been holding it before, like a pencil, broadside down. And I'm just going to go ahead and add that black. And this is going to help to make that silhouette, that hill silhouette that we are going to be using for our picture here. So I'm just going to go ahead and spread that paint. The thing I love about these kind of paintings, especially when it's silhouette, its colors says so much, especially black. When we're going to be doing our tree and our grass later on in this, you don't really need to do all the details, but you get the idea from the silhouette, from the shadows, and that is what makes silhouettes and shadows so incredibly cool. You can infer a lot about a painting based off of its based off the silhouette. And it takes a little bit of practice to get a really good silhouette going, but basically you're capturing like the very essence of an object. And if you can capture the very essence of an object, I mean, you're kind of like halfway there in understanding art and, I don't know, unlocking your inner badass. So I'm just gonna keep on spreading my paint. Does anybody have a yard or a place that looks kind of like this, where they get these really cool killer sunsets? If you do, comment below. Let me know where you see these, because one of these days I'd love to go and actually experience one of these kind of sunsets, at least more often. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and do the edges of my canvas as well. So don't forget that. You don't ever want to forget those. Now I'm also going to go underneath. The top portion of my canvas should be dry enough now where I can just go ahead and pick it up and just do the bottom portion of my canvas just like so. And again, if your paint is having trouble spreading, a little water can really go a long way. Okay? Your brushes love water. They love to interact because it helps everything flow so much better. Now, I'm going to be painting going into my yellow portion of the sky and covering a bit of it. This is totally intentional. You're basically making like a setting sun look, so you know the yellow of the sun is the last thing that kind of, well, rather is the first thing that starts to disappear into the night sky. So it doesn't really, it's not a big deal if you completely, you know, almost cover the entire yellow layer. You've captured everything else that helps get you the same idea that there is a sunset happening here. Okay, and you can do your hill any which way. I'm just going to do like a little bit of a hill so that I can just get a kind of a drama effect going on with it. Okay. Now don't be alarmed if your hill is not exactly the way you want it. You're going to be adding grass later, so grass tends to cover a lot of little mishaps. So don't fret, don't freak out if your hill is not exactly where you want it to be. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys how to make a tree. Now, trees are the biggest misconception because everyone thinks that they're the hardest thing to possibly make. And I say, nay, they are not. Trees are literally just lines, and they have a certain pattern that they follow. So once you kind of know that they're lines and that they follow a certain pattern, that's pretty much the premise of a tree. Now, if you'll notice, a tree has branches. So whenever a branch comes out of a tree, okay, so let's pretend this is your tree, and you got a branch coming out of it, it always forms a Y shape. The letter Y, it always comes out like this. Okay, so whenever you're making a branch of a tree, think about the letter Y and try to form that when you're making it. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to take this brush. This is the medium size, or something similar to that. If you guys don't have a brush like this, you're going to dip it in your water, get it nice and wet, because brushes like to have a lot of moisture on them. And I'm going to dip it into my black. Okay, just like so. Okay. Now I'm going to start on the left portion of my canvas, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the left part of my tree. So I'm holding my brush like a pencil. I'd like a lot of control, because the more control you have, the better. And I'm going to hold it so that the tip is directly touching the canvas, okay? Because I want a lot of control. So I'm just going to take my brush and I'm going to move up, just like so. And I'm just going to make my line look like this. Okay? So that's the left portion of your tree, okay? So there's really no rocket science to this. It's fairly straightforward, but I'm going to show you the other side. So I'm holding my brush like a pencil, and I'm just going to do the other side, and I'm moving up, 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 okay? And I'm going to stop about halfway. I'm just going to fill that in a little bit. And I'm going to stop about halfway, and then I'm going to make that branch. So I'm going to have one branch coming out like so, and I'm just going to make it go out like that, okay? Just like that. And then I'm not going to fill these in just yet, but I'm just going to create the top part of the branch, and I'm just kind of following. It doesn't matter if your lines are a little crooked, that's fine. Okay, so remember how I was talking about that Y shape? This is the Y shape I was talking about right here. Okay. And then I'm going to come back up here and just move my trunk up to finish. And I'm going to do the left side of that. And again, we're going to do that Y shape coming out. Okay. See that Y right there? That's what I'm talking about. That is how you make a branch for a tree, okay? And we're just going to go ahead and add a couple more branches. So again, think about the Y shape. I'm just going to add one up here, just like that. Now another thing to remember too is branches start off thick towards the actual branch and then they thin out. So whenever you're doing a branch like this, when you're getting to the tip, don't apply as much pressure on your brush. So I'm going to give you another demo. So if I want to do another branch, I'm just going to start over here. So I start off, my branch is going to be pretty thick. Start off like that. I'm going to do another one. So I'm going to do like that. So my branch is coming off thick, then it thins out just like that. I'm taking off pressure off my brush as I'm doing this. It's very subtle, but I'm just taking pressure off my brush so I don't have as much paint that's getting released, okay? So that's the premise of a tree. So all you got to do now is just fill it in with your black paint. All right, let's do this. So how nervous are you guys about painting trees? I mean, when I first started painting, I was not really comfortable with trees either, because you just you're not really sure what to think about it. It's a tree and there's so much stuff going on about it, but eventually I kind of got used to it, and now I teach it. But comment below, tell me if you love painting trees, or if trees are kind of like the bane of your existence. Do you find them difficult? Do you find them hard? Do you find them easy, that they come second nature to you? Tell me, comment below and let me know. Oh man, we're having fun. This is great. So you're just simply filling things in at this point. Not doing too much else. Okay. And you know what? I'm going to add another little branch, because why not? So a Y shape, and letting go just right at the tip. Okay, so I'm just going to do that. And then, you can go back in and add more wood to your tree. I'm just going back in. I'm kind of eyeballing it and thinking to myself, okay, you know what, it could use a little bit more of this, it could use a little bit more of that. And it's not, like I said, you can always go back and add more and do more or whatever. Just be careful not to hit the artist curse, where you do too much and then it all falls asunder. There's a balance to it. Getting the size of my canvas too. Wasn't that bad, right? What'd you guys think? Pretty easy? Not too bad? Not too horrible? So, once you're finished with your tree, we're going to add in a couple more touches. We're going to be adding in a swing and some grass blades. Now, we're going to be upgrading to another tool now. We're going to be using our small tip brush, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip my brush into my paint water, get them nice and wet. Okay, your paintbrush loves water. Always remember that. And I'm just going to go ahead and dip it into my black. Get it nicely coated. Now I'm going to make my swing right around here. And really a swing is just 2 lines with another line for the actual portion where you sit on the swing. So I'm just going to take my brush, hold it like a pencil. This is going to give you the most control. So this brush is going to be your best friend, and you can take it slow. Don't have to rush through this, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my brush, holding it down, and very lightly, very slowly, I'm just going to go and add a line. Going down like so. And it's up to you where you want to end the line. I'm going to probably end it like right around here. And then you just repeat that step for the second line. I'm going to leave about like 1.5 inches, 2 inches of space between the two. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that. Okay. And then all you have to do is to make your bench. I'm just going to take my brush and draw a horizontal line like so. Okay, and then I'm just going to extend the lines out so it looks like one of those like makeshift benches that you know, like with rope and you just tie it down. Okay, so just give you a close-up of what I'm doing. We just made this. Okay, so I got a little bit of a bench here. Got 2 lines going down, and I got the kind of the tassels of the ropes that were tied. Isn't that cool? Okay. Pretty simple, pretty easy, pretty fun. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how to make grass blades. Grass blades are, it's not a big deal. Grass blades are actually very fun to make. Just remember that it's 1 brush stroke, and it's literally a vertical brush stroke, and then different directions, and you just have to do a lot, okay? So I'm just going to show you how I'm going to do this. So I'm going to take my brush, I'm holding it like a pencil, okay? And you can either wait for this to dry so you can kind of lay your palm on the canvas itself. That's one way that you can get the most control. But I'm just going to show you how to do this without having this completely dry. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to take my brush, okay, make sure the point is on the canvas, and I'm just going to move my brush up. Just like that, okay? And just like you did with the branches, you're going to relieve pressure off your brush when you get to the end of your grass blade. So I'm moving up and then relieving pressure. Moving up, relieving pressure. Moving up, relieving pressure. Okay, so I want to get that thinned out grass blade look. And by doing that, I release pressure at the very end when I'm about to let my brush go off the canvas. That helps create that that very thinned out looking grass, okay? Now grass is all over the place. Grass grows in different directions all the time. So I'm going to draw some lines that are up to the right, up to the left, and I'm just going to do a lot of them, okay? And that's pretty much grass for you. I'm just going to go ahead and just add in some grass. Okay. And you'll see me, I'm just kind of like shotgunning it. I'm just adding grass blades, shooting them on here. And you can kind of fill in these areas towards like the bottom here with black, just so it looks like it's fuller. So you don't have to make a million grass blades if you don't want to. Now, if you're having trouble spreading that black paint, all you gotta do is add water, okay? Water is your best friend. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add my water. My water is gonna make this glide so well, and it's gonna make that black look so much more prominent. Okay, now you can make the grass blades be as high or as low as you want. I like them high looking. It really does create a really cool effect. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add that. Okay, I'm gonna set this down now, but I think you guys kind of get the point of what I'm trying to show you. So I'm just going to set this down and keep going. We doing okay? We're doing all right? All right. I'm just going to go ahead and add in some black towards the bottom so it looks like a thicker patch of grass. And then I'm just going to, if it looks a little too clumped up with the black color, I'm just going to take my brush and kind of break it up. So I'll go ahead and apply the black, and then I just move my brush up to break the black up, but you still get a very clumped appearance. Every time I draw or I paint swings, I always remember the times when I was a kid where we would do these contests where you would try to swing as high as you can, then fly off the swing and try to land on your feet. Thinking about it now, it's like, man, that was like so dumb, but it was so much fun when we were kids doing that, and just the thrill of being airborne for, 0.2 seconds that you're up in the air like that. It is quite invigorating. And don't forget to do some grass blades on the left side of the tree as well. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and add that. I'm gonna do it to the side of my canvas as well, because why not? Makes it look a lot more real. So you can see that I'm just kind of going through, old patches of grass that I painted and adding more strokes in various directions. And that's really what you're looking for. That's the whole thing about grass. Grass grows all over the place. It doesn't really have a specific direction that it grows in. It just kind of fans out and grows which way it feels like growing. So you're imitating that with your paint. Very cool, you guys. So cool. Okay. So, last but not least, I'm going to show you a nice added touch for this painting. Now, some of you might opt not to do this part, and that's fine. But I like to add little touches of fireflies that are flying through the grass and into the sky as well, that kind of blend and look like stars. So the way to do that is you would just clean your small brush. We're going to use it one more time. And this time you're going to dip it in your white. Okay, so I'm going to dip my brush into my white paint. Okay, so I got it nicely coated. And then what I'm going to do is, I'm just with dots, I'm just going to go ahead and add dots to imitate the lightning bugs, or we call them fireflies over here in the Northeast. What do you guys call fireflies? I know I've heard the term lightning bug before. I've heard that terminology before. I don't know if there's any other word to call them, but I'm just going to add them sporadically throughout. And then I'm going to add some up on top here. It's a firefly kind of night. Doesn't it add a touch of magical whimsy to the whole scene? It really is incredible what you can do with paint, huh? Brings you back, brings lots of good memories. Okay. And feel free to add some more embellishments if you want to go ahead and add something in the dark portion of this grass here. You know, either your initials or something that's important to you. Hey, go ahead. This is your artwork. This is something that you could put up in your house, give to your friend, as a token of love for them or for yourself. And so that's it. You've created a beautiful sunset scape with a swing on it. And you've created a beautiful tree that's holding that swing. And fireflies are zipping through the night sky, looking for some adventure. So wonderful job. Give yourself a pat on the back. That is wonderful what you did for yourself today. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for visiting my channel. Please I can't talk today. Please be sure to like and subscribe to my channel so that you can see more videos of what I put up here. And if you have any ideas, any suggestions on what paintings you would like for me to do, please drop me a comment or message me privately with some picture ideas, and I will do my best to replicate those paintings on canvas on the next videos. And once again, if you have any questions, any suggestions, or you want to show me your artwork and see what or show me how yours came out, I'd love to see them. So once again, my name is Amanda, and thanks for tuning in. Bye, loves. Mwah.